The smartest thing for the Browns to do for that wide receiver room is to cut and or trade Jerry Jeudy, and they need to do it now. We've all seen this play 1,000 times. We know how this ends. A perfectly placed ball to Jerry Jeudy somehow is a touchback in the end zone, and it's an interception. I think Shedeur does a great job trying to hold the safety, creating space, and puts the ball where, I mean, you couldn't have handed it off better than Jerry Jeudy, but I've been trying to convince you that his hands are completely awful. They're anemic. He's not games that we focus on, oh wow, if I could just learn how to draw. Week 6, as you see, 13 targets only resulting in 5 catches. Similarly, you have 12 resulting in 6 receptions as well. So a 47.2% catch rate. How does that compare? How does that rank, right? Let's talk about the efficiency, the numbers. He has top 25 target value. Jerry Jeudy was targeted at a top 25 rate in the league, right? 105. He ranks number 22 in targets, but ranked number 40.
What if the biggest threat to Shedeur Sanders' entire NFL career isn't the opposing defense, isn't the coaching staff, and isn't the playbook? What if it's the man lined up right next to him every single Sunday? Jerry Jeudy is supposed to be the #1 wide receiver on this Cleveland Browns roster. He's supposed to be the weapon that helps a rookie quarterback find his footing in the most brutal league on the planet. Instead, he's become the anchor dragging Shedeur straight to the bottom. 8 drops in 6 games, a catch rate that barely clears 47%, a passer rating generated on his targets that ranks 80th out of 81 receivers in the entire league. This isn't a rough stretch. This isn't growing pains. This is a 5-year pattern of carelessness finally catching up to a franchise foolish enough to keep trusting it. Cleveland is watching its quarterback's future get quietly destroyed, one dropped pass at a time, and almost nobody is talking about it. We are. Right now. Stay with us. Before we go any further, drop one word in the comments that describes Jerry Jeudy right now. Just one word. Let's see what Gridiron Ground Nation really thinks.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
80. That means whenever players are targeting Jerry Jeudy, they average a 44.2 rate because of how terrible he is. And right here is a historical number. Week 6, we're about to go there. I gotta show you a Bengals play, then I'm gonna show you this game specifically. 8 drops in first 6 games. That is a historic NFL threshold that Jerry Jeudy was receiving. So in all ways, he is legendarily awful, right? Here we have the notorious play. You know, as I was watching Joe Flacco under center, operated actually, funny enough, against a team that he would go play for and show that, hey, he can still ball out in the Unk Bowl, you know, do big things. Shout out to Joe Flacco. This is the play, though. This is the play where you start questioning Jerry Jeudy, right? And it's not just because of how terrible it is, right? It's not just because of how abysmal it is, right? It's because of how honestly impressive.
Let's start with the stats, because the stats are where the story gets truly uncomfortable. Jerry Jeudy is being targeted at a top 25 rate across the entire NFL this season. That means quarterbacks are trusting him. That means coaches are drawing up plays around him. That means this team has made a conscious decision to feed him the football on a consistent, high-volume basis. And what is he doing with all of that opportunity? Absolutely nothing. In one game alone, Jeudy sees 13 targets and hauls in just 5 catches. Another game, 12 targets, 6 receptions. Do the math on that and you land at a catch rate sitting right around 47.2%. For any receiver getting that kind of volume, that number is embarrassing. For a guy being treated as a #1 option on an NFL roster, it's borderline unacceptable. You don't get to be handed elite opportunity and return a coin flip success rate. That's not how this works. Now compare that against the rest of the league and the picture gets even uglier. Jeudy ranks 22nd in targets across all qualified receivers. Teams are throwing his direction constantly, but flip to receiving yards and he drops all the way to 46th. Yards per catch, 49th. And when you factor in overall receiving production relative to the volume he's getting, the gap between his opportunity and his output is one of the widest in professional football right now. He is being handed a loaded weapon and fumbling it every single time. This is where Cleveland fans need to get brutally honest with themselves, because the excuses are running out. You can blame scheme, You can talk about chemistry. You can point to quarterback development. But none of that explains a receiver ranked 22nd in targets producing like a player ranked near the bottom of the league in every meaningful efficiency category. The target volume tells you what this team thinks Jeudy can be. The production tells you what he actually is. And what makes this so frustrating to watch isn't just the numbers themselves. It's knowing what those numbers are doing to the man delivering the football. Shedeur Sanders is out there every single week reading defenses, manipulating safeties, and putting the ball exactly where it needs to go. He's doing the hard part. He's doing his job at a level that would make most veteran quarterbacks nod with respect. And then the ball arrives, and Jerry Jeudy reminds everyone why the stats look the way they look. A quarterback's numbers live and die with his receivers. Completion percentage, passer rating, touchdowns, all of it gets filtered through the hands of the men catching the ball. When those hands fail repeatedly, the quarterback's stat line takes the damage even when the throw was perfect. Shedeur is absorbing punishment in the box score for drops he has absolutely no control over, and the people watching those numbers are drawing the wrong conclusions about who's actually responsible. Here's what the raw efficiency data is really telling Cleveland. They are generating one of the worst returns in the entire NFL on their most targeted receiver. That's not a player going through a rough patch. That's a player who has never, across his entire career, been able to match his opportunity with his production. And the next section is going to show you exactly what that looks like in real time, on real film, in one of the most stunning plays of the entire season. There's one moment from this season that captures everything wrong with Jerry Jeudy better than any stat sheet ever could. And it didn't even involve Shedeur Sanders. Go back to the game with Joe Flacco under center and pay close attention to what happens, because it's almost hard to believe someone gets paid to play at this level and still lets this occur. Third down, fourth quarter. The Browns need this conversion. Flacco goes through his read and finds Jeudy sitting down on a short route, clean, open, with room to operate after the catch. This is supposed to be easy. This is the kind of play that receivers catch in their sleep. Pitch and catch. First down. Move the chains. Simple. The ball comes in a little low, sure. Nobody's going to sit here and pretend the throw was perfect. But here's the thing about playing receiver in the NFL. Contested catches, low balls, back shoulder throws, those are part of the job description. Every reliable receiver in this league has a technique for going to the ground and securing a football. You protect it. You tuck it. You make sure that no matter what, once that ball touches your hands, it does not come back out. Jeudy goes down to make the play, and somehow, impossibly, the ball pops straight up into the air. Not out of bounds, not into the turf, straight up. Like his hands actively rejected it, and a defender standing right there reacts faster than Jeudy does to his own fumble and walks away with the interception. The Cleveland sideline goes quiet. The stadium sits in stunned disbelief, and on the film you can see exactly what happened frame by frame. This wasn't bad luck. Bad luck is a defender making a miraculous play on a well-thrown ball. This was a receiver going to the ground to secure a routine catch and somehow launching the football into the air like a volleyball set. That's not a fluke. That's a technique problem. That's a focus problem. And in a league where the margins between winning and losing are razor thin, it's an accountability problem.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
What makes this play even more difficult to watch is the context around it. Fourth quarter, third down. The Browns are fighting for a conversion that keeps a drive alive. Flacco, a veteran quarterback who has done everything right in that moment, trusts Jeudy with the ball. And the result is a turnover that could have been avoided if the receiver had simply done what receivers are trained to do from the moment they put on a helmet. Coaches can talk about fundamentals all they want in film sessions. Coordinators can draw up clean routes and protect their receivers from tough coverage. None of that matters if the guy running the route can't finish the play. And this wasn't the first time something like this happened. It wasn't even close to the first time. It was just one of the most visible, most damaging examples of a pattern that had already been building for weeks. Because 8 drops in 6 games doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen because of tough coverage or bad weather or misread routes. 8 drops in 6 games happens because something deeper is broken. And that number is about to put everything into a completely different perspective. 8 drops in the first 6 games of the season. Let that land for a second, because that's not just a bad stretch. That's not just a slow start to the year. That number puts Jerry Jeudy in territory that most NFL receivers never come close to, and not in any way that anyone would want their name attached to. To understand why 8 drops in 6 games is significant, you have to understand how drops are tracked and how rare it is for a single receiver to accumulate that many that quickly. Most receivers across an entire 16 or 17 game season hover around 4 to 6 drops total. Elite receivers keep it under 3. The receivers you see making Pro Bowls and getting second contracts are the ones who protect the football like it's the most valuable object on the field, because in that moment, it is. 8 drops in 6 games places Jeudy on a historic pace. And the word historic gets thrown around in football constantly, usually to celebrate something remarkable. A quarterback throwing for 500 yards, a running back rushing for 3 touchdowns, a defender forcing 5 turnovers in a single game. Historic is a word that should feel good when it's attached to your name. For Jeudy, it's a word that now signals something closer to legendary incompetence, and that's not an exaggeration. That's just the math. Now think about what those 8 drops actually cost the Cleveland Browns in real, tangible ways. Every drop is a possession that dies prematurely. Every drop is a third down conversion that doesn't happen, a drive that stalls out, and a field goal attempt that replaces what should have been a touchdown opportunity. Every drop hands the opposing defense a free pass, a moment to exhale, a chance to reset. And every drop adds one more unnecessary burden onto a rookie quarterback, already carrying more weight than most first-year players ever have to. Shedeur Sanders is running an offense where the most targeted receiver is historically unreliable. Think about what that forces him to do on every single snap. He has to factor in the possibility that a completed throw might still result in an incompletion because of what happens once the ball arrives. That kind of uncertainty changes how a quarterback plays. It forces you to second-guess throws you should make confidently. It creates hesitation where there should only be instinct. And in the NFL, hesitation kills drives just as quickly as a bad decision does. The Browns coaching staff has the film. They have the drop charts. They have the target data showing exactly where possessions go to die. At some point, continuing to funnel volume into a receiver who returns historically bad completion results isn't player development. It's organizational malpractice. You cannot hand a rookie quarterback an anchor and tell him to swim. There's a version of this conversation where someone defends Jeudy by pointing to tough coverage or difficult game situations, but the film doesn't support that defense. These aren't contested catches being knocked away by elite cornerbacks. These are catchable balls turning into incompletions because the receiver's hands simply aren't dependable. And the 5-year history behind those 8 drops tells a story that cannot be explained away by one bad season. It's time to look at the whole picture. Here's where the argument that Jerry Jeudy is just going through a rough patch completely falls apart. Because when you pull back the camera and look at his entire career, the 2025 season isn't an outlier. It's a continuation. It's the latest chapter in a story that's been written the same way since the very beginning. Go back to 2020, his rookie year. Catch rate ranked 200th in the league. 200th. As a first-year receiver, some inconsistency is understandable. Learning the speed of the game, adjusting to professional coverage, building chemistry with a new quarterback, all of that takes time. Everyone gives a rookie the benefit of the doubt in year 1. That's fair. What's not fair is what came next. In 2021, the catch rate ranking climbed to 91st. Progress, technically. But 91st in the league still means the vast majority of receivers playing football at the professional level are outperforming you in the most fundamental part of the job. Then 2022 arrives, and the number slides back to 100th. The improvement from year 1 to year 2 didn't hold. The development that was supposed to accelerate started moving sideways instead. By 2023, the ranking dropped further to 142nd. A receiver now in his 4th professional season, with years of film study, coaching, and reps behind him, is somehow getting worse at catching the football. Not leveling off, getting worse. And then 2024 comes along, the season where Jeudy's supporters pointed to a breakout performance as proof that everything was finally clicking. That breakout year produced a catch rate ranked 131st in the entire league. Even his best season left him well below average by the only measurement that truly defines a wide receiver's reliability. 5 seasons, 5 years of preparation, coaching, opportunity, and game experience. And in every single one of those years, Jerry Jeudy's catch rate has ranked outside the top 90 receivers in professional football. Not once in half a decade has he cracked the top tier of reliability at his position. Not once has he shown the consistent hands that justify keeping him as a primary target on any NFL roster, let alone one trying to develop a franchise quarterback. This is the part of the conversation that needs to happen in Cleveland's front office, loudly and without comfortable excuses getting in the way. Catch rate isn't a complicated statistic. It doesn't require advanced analytics or sophisticated modeling to understand. It simply measures how often a receiver catches the balls thrown his direction. It's the baseline of the job, and Jeudy has failed to perform even at an average level by that baseline measure across his entire professional career. The people defending him point to his route running, his ability to create separation, his understanding of coverage. And sure, there are elements of his game that flash genuine NFL talent, but none of that matters if the football ends up on the ground. You cannot credit a receiver for creating separation if he can't hold onto the ball once it arrives. Separation without securing the catch is just a really expensive, wasted play. 5 years of data pointing in the same direction isn't a coincidence, and it isn't bad luck. It's a profile. And that profile has no business being attached to the number 1 receiver spot on a team trying to build something real around Shedeur Sanders. The next number makes that point impossible to argue with. Passer rating is one of the most watched numbers in professional football. Fans check it after every game. Analysts break it down every Monday morning. Front offices use it to evaluate quarterbacks, make contract decisions, and determine whether a player deserves to be trusted with the franchise. It matters. And right now, that number is being used to question Shedeur Sanders in ways that are deeply unfair, because almost nobody is talking about where that number actually comes from. When a quarterback throws to Jerry Jeudy, the passer rating generated on those throws sits at 44.2. Read that again slowly. 44.2. In a league where an average passer rating lands somewhere around 95 to 100, a 44.2 on throws to a specific receiver is catastrophic. It means that every time the ball goes Jeudy's direction, the statistical output is nearly half of what the league average expects. That's not one bad game. That's not one miscommunication on a route. That's a consistent, season-long destruction of quarterback efficiency. And here's where the ranking makes everything even more damning. That 44.2 passer rating places Jeudy 80th out of 81 qualified receivers in the entire NFL. 80th out of 81. That means you can line up almost every single receiver currently playing professional football, and every single one of them, nearly without exception, generates better results for their quarterback than Jerry Jeudy does. You would have to work very hard to find a receiver producing worse outcomes on targeted throws than what Cleveland is getting right now from their primary wide receiver option. Now step back and think about what that means for Shedeur specifically. His passer rating takes damage every single time he targets Jeudy. Drops register as incomplete passes. Tipped balls turn into interceptions. Routine third down conversions become punts. And every single one of those outcomes gets folded into Shedeur's overall numbers, making him look like a quarterback who can't manage an offense, when the reality is that he's a quarterback being consistently let down by the man supposedly helping him succeed. People across the league are evaluating Shedeur's early career performance based on numbers that are being dragged down by a receiver ranked 80th out of 81 in the country at generating positive outcomes on throws. That's not a quarterback problem. That's a receiver problem wearing a quarterback's jersey in the stat column. And the media, the critics, the anonymous voices online calling for Cleveland to bench the rookie, are all reading a box score that tells a fundamentally dishonest story about what's actually happening on the field. This is the part that should make Cleveland fans genuinely angry, not just at Jeudy, but at the situation. A franchise quarterback's evaluation is being corrupted by one player's inability to do the basic function of his job. Every dropped pass is a false data point being used to judge someone who threw the ball perfectly. Every turnover that starts with a tipped ball is another black mark on a quarterback who made the right read, the right throw, and got absolutely nothing back in return. The 44.2 is not Shedeur's number, it's Jeudy's. And until Cleveland separates those two things in the public conversation, the wrong person is going to keep taking the blame. What makes it worse is that Shedeur isn't the only rookie quarterback suffering through this exact same nightmare. If Jerry Jeudy's impact on Shedeur's numbers was an isolated situation, you could make the argument that maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it's a chemistry issue. Maybe it's a system that doesn't fit. Maybe, as the critics like to suggest, the rookie quarterback is the one creating the problem. But then you look at Dillon Gabriel's numbers, and that entire argument collapses immediately. Dillon Gabriel came into this season as another young quarterback thrown into a difficult situation with the same receiver room. Different arm, different style, different background, but the same targets lined up on the outside. And what happened to his numbers? He posted the second worst passer rating in the entire league this season. Right behind Shedeur, two different quarterbacks, two completely different physical profiles and skill sets, both posting historically bad efficiency numbers in the same season, in the same offense, throwing to the same group of receivers. That is not a coincidence. That is a verdict. When two quarterbacks from completely different backgrounds both show up in the bottom tier of league-wide passer ratings while throwing to the same receiver room, the math tells you exactly where the problem lives. It doesn't live behind center. It lives at wide receiver. And the number one target in that receiver room has a 5-year track record that confirms everything the 2025 season is showing us in real time. Think about how unfair this situation is from a development standpoint. Both Gabriel and Shedeur are being evaluated by organizations, by media members, and by fans who are looking at numbers that don't accurately represent their actual ability. Their passer ratings are being sculpted not just by their decision-making and arm talent, but by what happens to the ball after it leaves their hands. And what's happening to the ball is a direct reflection of who's catching it. Rookie quarterbacks are already under more scrutiny than almost any other position in professional sports. The margin for error is tiny. The patience from fan bases and front offices is limited. The narrative around a young quarterback gets established fast, and once it calcifies, it's incredibly difficult to change. Shedeur and Gabriel are both having their early narratives written by drops, tipped balls, and converted turnovers that belong to someone else's stat line entirely. And here's what makes the Dillon Gabriel connection so important for the broader conversation. He played for a different team, with a different offensive coordinator, with different personnel around him except for the shared piece of that broken receiver room. And his numbers told the same story. That removes scheme from the equation. That removes coaching from the equation. That removes any argument about the quarterback simply being out of their depth. Two different quarterbacks, same broken result. The receiver room is the common thread running through every piece of bad news Cleveland has generated statistically this season. And Jerry Jeudy sits right at the center of that room, collecting targets he can't convert, generating passer ratings that punish the men throwing him the football, and dragging down the public perception of two young quarterbacks who deserved far better support from the moment they took their first professional snap. The front office has to see this by now. They have to. The question is whether they're willing to do anything about it, and that answer has everything to do with the future of this franchise. At some point, the data becomes undeniable. At some point, every dropped pass, every tipped interception, every drive that dies in a receiver's hands stops being a coincidence and starts being an organizational failure. Cleveland's front office is sitting on 5 years of catch rate rankings, one historically bad drop total through 6 weeks, a 44.2 passer rating generated on throws to their primary target, and film that shows the same mistakes repeating themselves over and over with absolutely no sign of correction. And they're still running Jeudy out there every single Sunday, as if none of that information exists. This is the part of the story that should frustrate Cleveland fans most, because it's not about Jerry Jeudy's talent in isolation. Jeudy clearly has athletic ability. He can run routes. He can create separation. There are moments in his career where you can see the player he was supposed to become. But professional football doesn't grade on potential. It grades on production. And production, measured honestly and completely, tells you that keeping Jeudy as the primary target for a developing rookie quarterback is actively working against everything Cleveland is trying to build. Trading, Jeudy sends a message to Shedeur that the organization is paying attention. It says that the coaching staff and front office are watching the film honestly, following the data without bias, and making decisions that actually serve the quarterback they've committed to developing. Cutting him sends the same message even louder. Either move says that Cleveland is serious about building something real rather than maintaining comfortable roster decisions out of habit. Keeping him sends a completely different message. It tells Shedeur that the organization is willing to let him absorb statistical damage week after week to avoid making a difficult personnel call. It tells him that his development matters less than the sunk cost of a receiver who hasn't justified his opportunity in 5 seasons. And it tells everyone watching that the front office is more interested in avoiding controversy than fixing an obvious problem. Harold Fannin has already shown flashes of being a legitimate option in this receiver room. There are young players across the league who would thrive in a system that actually feeds them the football consistently. Cleveland doesn't need to torch their entire roster. They need to make one clear, decisive move that removes the anchor from around Shedeur's ankle and gives him a genuine chance to show what he can actually do when the people around him are doing their jobs. The film has been there all season. The numbers have been available for anyone willing to look. The pattern has been repeating itself long enough that no one should be surprised by where we've arrived. 8 drops in 6 games doesn't come out of nowhere. A 44.2 passer rating on targeted throws doesn't appear randomly. A 5-year history of catch rate rankings sitting near the bottom of the league doesn't get explained away by a bad week. This is who Jerry Jeudy is as a professional receiver, and Cleveland cannot keep pretending otherwise while a rookie quarterback's early career numbers get quietly destroyed in the background. The data is clear, the film is honest, and the front office has everything they need to finally make the right call. The only thing left to see is whether they actually will. Every conversation about what's broken eventually has to shift toward what could actually fix it. And for Cleveland, the answer isn't complicated. It isn't some mysterious formula buried in advanced analytics. It's staring them right in the face every single game day. Shedeur Sanders needs a receiver room built around trust, reliability, and hands that finish what his arm starts. And the blueprint for that room already exists if the front office is willing to look. Harold Fannin has quietly been doing everything right. The routes are clean. The hands are dependable. The effort after the catch shows a player who actually wants to be part of something bigger than his own stat line. Fannin isn't generating headlines because he isn't generating controversy. He's just doing his job, catching footballs, moving chains, and giving his quarterback a target he can actually believe in when the pocket collapses and the pressure arrives. That's the kind of receiver you build around. That's the kind of player who makes a rookie quarterback better simply by being reliable. But one reliable target isn't enough. Not in this league. Not when defensive coordinators scheme specifically to eliminate your best option and force the ball toward your weakest link. Cleveland needs to surround Shedeur with multiple receivers who can convert opportunity into production consistently. The draft is coming. Free agency is approaching. And the trade market always has options for organizations willing to be aggressive about fixing an obvious weakness. Imagine what Shedeur's numbers look like when the receiver catching his throws actually holds onto the football. Think about the completion percentage climbing. Think about the passer rating correcting itself overnight. Think about the interception numbers dropping because tipped balls stop floating into defenders' hands. The difference between what Shedeur's stats say right now and what they could say with competent receiving weapons isn't small. It's massive. It's the difference between a quarterback the league questions and a quarterback the league respects. Every franchise quarterback in the history of this sport had a moment where the organization around him decided to invest properly. Peyton Manning got Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Tom Brady had an entire system built around reliable short and intermediate targets who never let the ball hit the ground. Patrick Mahomes walked into a room with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce already waiting for him. The greatest quarterbacks didn't succeed alone. They succeeded because someone in the front office understood that a quarterback is only as good as the hands catching his passes. Cleveland has that same choice sitting right in front of them this offseason. They can invest in Shedeur's future by rebuilding the receiver room with players who match his accuracy and his competitive fire. Or they can run it back with the same broken group and watch another season of wasted throws pile up, while the national media keeps blaming the rookie behind center for problems he didn't create. The path forward is obvious to anyone watching honestly. Shedeur has shown enough arm talent, enough poise, and enough football intelligence to earn real investment from this organization. He's done his part every single Sunday, even when the results didn't reflect it. Now it's Cleveland's turn to do theirs. Give the man weapons that work. Give him hands that close. Give him a receiver room worthy of what he's already proven he can deliver. Because the arm is there. The brain is there. The only thing missing is a team around him willing to catch up. Here's the bottom line on everything we just broke down. Jerry Jeudy is not a villain. He's not a bad person. But he is the wrong receiver for this moment in this city next to this quarterback. And the evidence supporting that conclusion isn't emotional. It isn't fan frustration. It's 5 years of rankings, 8 drops in 6 weeks, a 44.2 passer rating, and 2 separate rookie quarterbacks both posting historic lows throwing to the same broken receiver room. Shedeur Sanders came into this league with real tools. The accuracy is there. The poise is there. The football intelligence is clearly there. What isn't there is a receiver core capable of turning his work into results. And until Cleveland fixes that, no honest evaluation of their quarterback is even possible. The smartest organizations in this league protect their young quarterbacks fiercely. They build around them. They remove obstacles. Cleveland has the data. They have the film. Now they need the courage to act on it. This is Gridiron Ground. If this breakdown opened your eyes, subscribe right now because we cover the stories the mainstream glosses over. Drop your take in the comments. Cleveland deserves the truth, and we're not done telling it.